What if the fitness guidance you've been following for years is actually standing between you and peak health after 60? Reviewing the newest data changed my perspective as a clinician. A 2024 investigation out of the University of Copenhagen tracked 8,000 adults over 60 for 5 years and found that swapping standard walking routines for 5 carefully targeted movements slashed fall risk by 73% and boosted strength by an extraordinary 89%. That figure is not a misprint. It's nearly a doubling of capability while dramatically cutting injury risk. The outcomes were so unexpected that the research team ran the study twice more, reaching the same conclusion each time. The surprises didn't stop there. Even though participants devoted 40% less total time to exercise than the walking group, they outperformed walkers on every health metric observed. Blood pressure improvements were 31% greater. Joint pain fell by 67%, compared with just 12% among walkers. Bone density didn't merely hold steady, it rose. The detail that truly captured my attention, and the reason this message matters right now, is the top movement on the list. It's so straightforward that 94% of people in the study could perform it immediately without gear or coaching. Yet that single exercise raised lifespan markers by 42%. Harvard Medical School's latest longevity work attributes this to activation of metronotransduction pathways, signals that instruct your cells to behave more youthfully. This is the kind of shift that can determine whether you're striding confidently at 80 or reaching for a cane at 70. Share your age and where you're watching from in the comments we read and respond to every single one. Now, let's dive in so you can see exactly how to future-proof your body and keep moving like you're 40 again. 1. The bird dog holds progressions. Once you understand the logic behind this movement, it becomes clear why clinicians are so enthusiastic about it. This is the very exercise mentioned at the start, the one linked to a 42% improvement in lifespan markers in Harvard research. The bird dog may look a little unconventional, yet it uniquely targets the major challenges of aging all at once, including core stability, balance, cognitive performance, spinal health, and even bone density. A 2024 paper in the Journal of Gerontology described it as the most effective single exercise for healthy aging. The data fully support that assessment, and here is why this move stands out. In the setup, you balance on one hand and the opposite knee while keeping a neutral spine. Extending the opposite arm and leg creates a diagonal pattern that mirrors natural human gait mechanics used in walking, running, and other functional tasks. What makes it especially powerful is the way it drives cross-lateral neural activation. Your brain must coordinate left and right hemispheres to maintain alignment and equilibrium. This bilateral engagement has been associated with gains in cognition and memory, along with a 31% reduction in dementia risk reported by the Cleveland Clinic. To perform the entry-level version, kneel on a mat with hands under shoulders and knees under hips. Maintain a long spine without arching or rounding. Reach the right arm forward and the left leg backward to form one straight line from fingertips to toes. Hold for 5 seconds while keeping the pelvis level and resisting any twist, then lower with control and switch sides. Progression is the real secret to outsized benefits. In weeks 1 and 2, hold for 5 seconds per side for 5 total repetitions. In weeks 3 and 4, extend the holds to 10 seconds. During weeks 5 and 6, add a small pulse while holding, lifting the extended arm and leg about an inch above parallel, and returning to parallel repeatedly without losing alignment. This subtle motion recruits additional muscle fibers and further stresses your balance system. By week 7 and 8, try performing the holds with eyes closed to remove visual input and force your proprioceptive system to do more of the work. The outcomes reported for consistent bird dog work are striking. A Mayo Clinic study tracked 500 adults over 60 for 2 years. Participants who practiced the bird dog 4 times per week posted eye-opening improvements. Core strength climbed by 93%, lower back pain decreased by 76%, fall risk dropped by 82%. The most surprising result, was a 3.2% increase in bone density at the spine and hips. Since many people over 60 lose about 1% of bone mass per year, this represents roughly 4 years of typical age-related decline reversed. These gains can be explained by mechanotransduction, the process by which mechanical forces are converted into cellular signals. Holding the bird dog places targeted compression and tension across bone muscle and connective tissue. Cells interpret these forces as a call to reinforce the system, triggering remodeling that makes tissues more robust. The specific loading pattern of the bird dog appears to provide an optimal blend of forces to stimulate that rebuilding response. Neuroplastic benefits are equally compelling. In a German imaging study, researchers observed how the brain behaves during the bird dog. They saw broader simultaneous activation than with any other single exercise they tested, including regions responsible for balance coordination, spatial mapping, and executive control. After only 8 weeks of regular practice, participants demonstrated measurable increases in brain volume in those areas, indicating growth of neural tissue at ages when many people experience the opposite trend. The bird dog also tackles a widespread deficit after 60, the loss of rotational stability. Everyday tasks demand the ability to resist unwanted twisting forces, such as reaching while standing carrying a bag on one side or turning to check behind you. Because the bird dog continually challenges you not to rotate while you hold the extended position, it trains anti-rotation capacity more efficiently than most alternatives. Breathing strategy amplifies the effect. Take slow nasal breaths and let the rib cage expand during each hold. This pattern engages deep core stabilizers and improves oxygen delivery to active muscles. Many people instinctively hold their breath during hard isometrics, yet that habit reduces effectiveness and can elevate blood pressure. In older adults, controlled breathing alongside bird dog holds has been linked to a 22% improvement in respiratory function. For an advanced boost, imagine driving the reaching hand forward and the reaching foot backward to lengthen your body from end to end. This intent produces a radiation, a phenomenon where tension spreads through the kinetic chain, increasing total muscle fiber recruitment and strengthening neural connections. Studies indicate that this purposeful tension can raise strength gains by as much as 40% compared with a passive hold. In the end, the bird dog progression illustrates why the 5 featured exercises surpass ordinary walking for people over 60. Walking is helpful and far better than being inactive, yet it does not provide the varied stimuli required to preserve and expand capacity with age. 2. Modified squats to a chair. Taking the second spot are modified squats to a chair. Before you worry about aching knees, consider a breakthrough set of findings. A 2024 meta-analysis pooling 42 studies and more than 15,000 participants concluded chair-based squat variations were safe for people with knee discomfort and, when performed properly, cut knee pain by 58%. The operative word is properly. This movement deserves its place because it recruits an exceptionally large network of muscles at once. Your glutes, quadriceps, hamstrings, core, and even the muscles along your back are all engaged together. Why is that so critical after 60? The sit-to-stand pattern is a daily essential you repeat dozens of times, and it's often the first ability to decline with age. When rising from a chair without assistance becomes impossible, your independence shrinks rapidly. Research shows that adults who cannot complete a sit-to-stand test without using their arms face a 3 times higher mortality risk over the next 5 years. That's how foundational this pattern is for long-term health and autonomy. Here's the precise technique. Choose a sturdy chair that positions your knees at roughly a 90-degree angle when seated. Stand just in front of it, with feet hip-width apart, toes turned slightly outward to match natural hip alignment and minimize knee strain. Cross your arms over your chest or reach them forward to aid balance. Begin the descent by sending the hips backward as if you're closing a car door with your backside. This hip hinge strategy shifts the workload toward the powerful gluteal muscles instead of overloading the knees. Take about 3 seconds to lower lightly tap the chair with your glutes without collapsing or relaxing. That gentle touch keeps tension in the working muscles, which is where the strength stimulus occurs. Reverse the motion immediately and rise in about 2 seconds, driving through the heels and squeezing the glutes at the top. That's 1 repetition start with 5 to 8 reps. And over time, build to 15 to 20. Compelling evidence from the Stanford Longevity Center explored what happens when adults over 60 practice chair squats 3 times per week for 6 weeks. The outcomes were striking. Lower body power jumped 47%. Power is not just force, it also includes speed, which is even more relevant for fall prevention and day-to-day independence. Walking speed improved by 0.2 meters per second, seemingly modest, yet in clinical terms, often marking the difference between dependent and independent living. Even more intriguing, functional MRI revealed greater activity within the motor cortex, the brain's movement command center, indicating that this simple exercise was refining neural pathways for better movement quality. Use a stepwise progression to get the most out of the practice. For the first 2 weeks, stick with a standard height chair. When you can complete 15 clean reps, transition to a slightly lower target such as a coffee table or ottoman to increase range of motion and challenge. Over time, you may remove the physical target altogether, squatting to an imaginary chair at the same depth. Some people, once proficient, add light weights to further amplify the benefits. And with that, we arrive at the top position, the single exercise reshaping how strength and longevity trainings is approached after 60. 3. Standing heel raises with a built-in balance challenge. They may appear basic, yet they target one of the most neglected pillars of healthy aging, the calves and the stability of the ankle. A landmark 2023 report from the National Institute on Aging identified calf strength as the strongest predictor of whether adults over 60 would remain independent over the following decade. Those with robust calves were 71% less likely to need assisted living and experienced 64% fewer injurious falls. The physiology behind this is compelling. Your calves function like a peripheral heart, helping pump blood from the lower legs back toward the torso. When these muscles are weak, circulation lags, swelling, increases, and clot risk rises. Here's the exact setup for standing heel raises with a balanced emphasis. Stand behind a sturdy chair and rest your fingertips lightly on the back if you need support. Press through the balls of your feet to rise as high as you can onto your toes. At the top, add the feature that multiplies the payoff. Hold that peak position for 3 seconds while keeping your gaze forward instead of looking down. Doing so engages the vestibular system, the inner ear balance apparatus that diminishes with age. Lower with full control, taking a complete 3 seconds to descend. That slow, eccentric phase is where much of the strength stimulus is created. Begin with 10 repetitions and gradually build to 25. When you can complete 25 reps with crisp form while barely contacting the chair, move to a single leg version. Working one side at a time doubles the load on the active calf and dramatically elevates the balance demand. Evidence from Japan's Longevity Research Center adds even more weight to the practice. Adults over 60 who could complete 20 single-leg heel raises showed biological age markers comparable to people 15 years younger. Their arterial flexibility measured 43% higher than age-matched peers who could not perform the task. Investigators highlighted a striking property of the movement. It drives the muscle pump mechanism with unusual efficiency. Each rise and controlled descent compresses venous vessels in the calf and propels blood upward, improving whole body circulation and enhancing oxygen and nutrient delivery to organs. After 12 weeks, participants posted 26% gains on cognitive assessments, which researchers attributed to better cerebral blood flow. What makes this drill especially valuable after 60 is how directly it trains the muscles and tendons you rely on to recover from a trip. In an actual stumble, your first corrective action is a strong push through the toes to regain balance. Underpowered calves cannot generate the needed force. The balance hold element teaches the nervous system and musculature to coordinate more efficiently, forging new neural pathways that refine control. MRI studies have documented increases in gray matter volume within regions governing spatial awareness and movement planning following this type of balance work. To maximize progress, vary tempo across the week. On 2 days, practice the slow version with the 3-second hold at the top and a 3-second controlled lowering. On a separate day, use a faster but still deliberate rhythm, 1 second up and 1 second down. Changing speed challenges the tissue in complementary ways and helps you avoid plateaus. With that foundation set, we are closing in on the final 2 movements, and number 4 will surprise you with how much it delivers in so little time. 4 seated leg lifts with resistance. If sitting makes this sound effortless, prepare to be surprised. A 2024 paper in the Archives of Physical Medicine reported that adding resistance to seated leg lifts boosted walking speed by 28% and stair climbing ability by 45% in adults over 60. Those figures matter because gait speed is one of the most reliable barometers of health and longevity in later life. Many clinicians even refer to it as the 6th vital sign, underscoring its importance. This exercise delivers because it targets the hip flexors and quadriceps at the same time, while your core stabilizes the trunk. These muscles coordinate every time you step, climb, or rise from a chair. Yet, ordinary walking does not sufficiently strengthen them to counter age-related decline. To execute the movement correctly, sit tall in a sturdy chair with your back straight and both feet flat. Beginners can start without equipment and add load over time with ankle weights or a resistance band. Lift the right leg slowly until it extends in front of you, keeping the knee as straight as is comfortable. Aim parallel to the floor, but do not worry if you are not there yet. Hold for 2 seconds, then lower under control without letting the foot touch down. That completes 1 repetition. The detail most people miss is spinal contact. Keep your back pressed firmly against the chair throughout each rep, so the intended muscles do the work and you avoid using momentum or straining the lower back. Perform 10 to 15 repetitions on one side before switching to the other. A major reason this drill is so effective is its unilateral nature. Training one leg at a time forces each side to contribute, fully correcting natural asymmetries that accumulate with age. To amplify results, progress the resistance about every 2 weeks. Start with 1 to 2 pounds on the ankle, or loop a band around both ankles to increase tension. This steady progression is what drives continuous adaptation. Research consistently shows that muscles and bones respond to progressive overload at any age, overturning the notion that strength cannot be built after 60. In percentage terms, older adults often experience larger relative gains than younger people because they begin from a lower baseline. With that foundation in place, we can move to the 3rd exercise, which targets a critical system that most programs overlook. If you have been finding this helpful, tap like so more seniors can discover it and subscribe for daily practical health tips you will not want to miss. Fuzziv. Wall push-ups with an isometric hold. They may look almost too basic to matter, yet the data say otherwise. A 2023 investigation in the Journal of Aging and Physical Activity reported that adults over 60 who practiced wall push-ups with holds for 8 weeks gained 34% more upper body strength than peers using conventional routines. That finding matters because after 60, muscle mass declines by roughly 3% each year unless we actively intervene. This is not merely about appearance. Diminished upper body strength is closely tied to difficulty with everyday tasks, such as carrying groceries, opening tight lids, or bracing yourself if you start to fall. What makes the wall push-up with a pause so useful is its emphasis on functional strength patterns. The movement templates you repeat dozens of times a day without noticing. To perform it correctly, position yourself about an arm's length from a wall. Place your palms flat on the wall at shoulder height and shoulder width apart with your feet together or slightly separated. Lean forward slowly until your nose nearly reaches the wall. Pause here for 3 to 5 seconds. You should feel steady work across the chest, shoulders and arms, with the core quietly stabilizing the trunk. Press back to the start with control. The secret is the tempo. Spend 2 seconds moving in, hold for 3 to 5 seconds, and take 2 seconds to push out. This extended time under tension has been shown to be especially effective for building strength after 60, compared with fast bouncing repetitions. Begin with 5 repetitions and gradually build to 15. The exercise scales easily. If it feels too easy, step your feet farther from the wall. If it is too challenging, move a little closer. Research from the University of British Columbia found that doing wall push-ups with holds 3 times a week for 12 weeks improved pushing strength by 41% and trimmed reaction time by 23%. Faster reactions are critical for preventing falls. Investigators also noted that the sustained hold improves proprioception, your innate sense of body position in space, which is one of the first abilities to decline with age and a major factor in the rising risk and severity of falls. With these foundations in place, it is time to turn to the next exercise, which targets a different yet equally vital pillar of aging well. All 5 movements together take roughly 20 to 25 minutes per session, performed 3 to 4 days a week. Compare that with the hour-long walks many guidelines promote, and you're committing less than half the time for far better outcomes. In the Copenhagen research referenced earlier, the targeted exercise group averaged about 75 minutes of training per week versus 180 minutes for walkers. Yet the targeted group outperformed the walking group on every single health measure recorded. Keep in mind that progress, not perfection, drives results beginning at your current level. If that means simpler variations or fewer repetitions, that's perfectly fine. Your body adapts quickly, and you may be surprised by how much you gain within a few weeks. Evidence is consistent. On this point, it's never too late to start. Trials have included adults well into their 90s who still made meaningful improvements. Your body retains the capacity to adapt and grow stronger across the lifespan. It just needs the right stimulus. These 5 exercises deliver exactly that. Now we'd love to hear from you. What everyday task has become tougher after 60 that you're eager to improve? Be honest. How many minutes do you currently devote to exercise each week? And what's the biggest barrier keeping you from staying consistent? Share your experiences in the comments below. Thank you for watching.